Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. We have two very special guests here today, and thank you, audience members, for joining us. As you know, the censorship on YouTube is getting so bad now that I'm stuck here on the backup channel, but we're going to make do with all the people that decided to come out here today. Thank you all. So, we have Mike today from Nav War. He's been featured on the Journey to Truth channel here on YouTube, as well as Colin, who has memories of being the scientist John Keely in his past life. Today, we'll be discussing more about our secret hidden history of humanities Breakaway, which includes a discussion of Tartaria, the early secret space program originating in Prussia, and we will be discussing more about Tesla, Trump, and time travel. So, Mike is a 20-plus year active retired veteran in the United States Navy. He is the director of security of several Terran intergalactic spaceports and deputy commander of a special operations for galactic viewing and travel, as well as the liaison for the commander of the Galactic Council of Venus. Colin is a super soldier, remote viewer, precognitive, and clairaudient. I met Colin in the SSP at the 500-room Marketer Retreat Hotel on Iapetus, where my alter, Derrick Reinholder, was also visiting at the same time. My alter, Derrick Reinholder, is a non-commissioned officer for Fireteam S and Nacht Waffen Regir. This hotel is an R&R facility serving clientele, mostly military and pirates. It also appears that most of the guests here are KIA because there's a war going on, and this might be a future memory. So I also got the contact information. Colin might clarify more about that particular. Since I'm already talking, well, how about I just go ahead and bring Colin in? Colin, are you there? Colin?
Yes, sir. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, great. Yes.
No.
All right, right on.
That's Mike over there from Nav War. So
Howdy, y'all.
great. So thank you all for coming on here. Colin, do you have? Could you clarify anything else from that particular memory on the marketer?
Yeah.
Hotel?
Yeah, it was called the Marketeer, like two E's at the end. From what I recall from that memory, it was interesting because it was service to service members as well as pirates, and whenever that memory took place, which I'm currently in the process of trying to put my memories in a linear order, because they all come flooding in, and sometimes they come in quicker than other times. So but yeah, I found that interesting. And then the fact that we met there in the SSP, it's always interesting when you have that happen, when you know of somebody from the program and then you connect with them here in this I guess timeline, right? So yeah, I mean, in terms of like, was there anything specific that you wanted to know about that experience? Or
yeah, so Iapetus, that particular colony is right next to a Draco colony, so a lot of human personnel actually go missing. So we can only probably guess where they're going or what they're.
Anyway. I want to say one of the things that sticks out the most about Iapetus is its proximity to Saturn. So there are, from that facility, they have viewing rooms for the purpose of looking at Saturn, because it's quite breathtaking up close like that. When you're looking at Saturn, and it's got a gaseous layer. Its atmosphere is very thick, so the coloration is really unique. And that was probably what stuck out the most about that particular memory. But I actually, accessing the files there, it was quite interesting to see that Derrick Reinhold was there as well. And the fact that we had met there was cool.
So what about you, Mike? Have you actually been out to Saturn and Iapetus?
I've been out that way once or twice, mainly the moon portion of Iapetus. Saturn didn't really care for it.
Okay. Are you at liberty to tell us what you were doing out there?
How do I say it? I'm trying to find my good words so that way I don't be so vulgar on your channel. I was asked politely to behave. Basically checking references, so to speak, and a lot of recon. If that makes any sense to you.
Okay, so you can confirm, maybe not necessarily that we were there, but that there are bases out on Iapetus and Saturn.
Out in that general vicinity, but where a lot of people believe they are on that particular ball, no. Based on the intel that I have.
Okay. Well, I would love to have a more in-depth discussion about this, but we've got a lot of great content about Tartaria and the secret space early breakaway. So I thought maybe we could just start off with how about we just I have some of these pictures here I could share. So this was given to me. Let's hear. Colin actually sent me this. So let me go ahead.
Let's see what you got.
Okay. Give me a moment here. Let's see. I'm sure I'm going to do my screen share. All right. And here we go. All right.
Yeah, that was some of the architecture I was telling you about. The way that, those buildings are designed with the materials used. They're great for interacting, with the Earth's energy and the just the electrospectrum in general. They're also they're great for energy amplification and storing that type of energy is pretty simple. Like the technology isn't that in depth in terms of what's needed, and the way that it can web out across the terrain using pylons on nexus points. It's quite interesting, and that's actually in an RV session, a remote view session. That's what stuck out the most to me was the architecture and their means of the free energy use.
Okay, Colin, before we get to the architecture, how about let's just back up a little bit and discuss what exactly is Tartaria. Now we've got these maps. So of course this map is kind of blurry, but we're looking at an area which looks like it's in Russia or Siberia. Here's a map
on that one real quick.
Yeah, this one here.
Everything that we know that was east of the Atlantic, you know what I mean? Europe, Russia, Southern Asia, all that stuff at one point was Tartaria. All of that. You had Northern Tartaria, you had Central Tartaria, Minor, Major, and so on and so forth. But all that depends on how far back you want to go.
Right. Okay. So the area that so Tartaria, I guess, I mean, like as Mike just stated, it's changed, but over, I guess, near the end of the era, which I was looking around, it looks like around 1814 is when it all came to an end. But when I say end, it's you have to look at the civilization and as a nexus of when it was a positive and then it switched to negative. But we're going to go into that in just a bit. But I just want to give people an idea geographically. Okay, Grand Tartaria, or Tartary, I guess. They spelled, instead of putting a Y, they put an IE at the end. Yeah, so that gives you another idea. So obviously this is before Russia existed. And here's another idea. It looks like this green area, like the Philippines and was it Sri Lanka, might be actually colonies of this empire at one point. Another map here. So I'm not sure exactly. Oh, I don't know why that's in here. Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, but now
Archons.
Yeah, don't get in that brand, but
Archons.
Okay, I guess this is the ice wall stuff.
That's true, though.
Okay, let me go ahead. So now let's go into some of the report. Well, like I said, I didn't really have time to put together a report.
Can I add into that first picture you showed?
Okay, but
if you don't object.
What's picture was?
The very first one you showed, the one of that temple.
Okay, yeah, sure. Just give me a moment. Yeah, you can go ahead and talk.
And if Colin sees it in a different light, then everybody sees them differently. But it's easier to explain it once you put it up.
Yeah.
It's a real simple way to explain it.
Okay.
I know based on what he's saying, he knows kind of what he's talking about. So
yeah, hold on.
And I'm saying kind of gently. No, we don't want to see that.
I know. If I don't load it up first,
Hey,
it won't.
I'm all
load.
down for learning more. So
Right, that one right there, yes, sir. Okay, if you take every one of those holes in the bottom or the archways, picture how they wind a magnet. Okay, you know how you wind the magnet with the wire and you do the reverse polarity BS and all that stuff. What you're doing is basically when the energy comes through, okay, aside from all the stuff with Magnetron, but that's kind of his thing. He basically turned this into a glorified capacitor, if you think about it. And what the capacitor, like part resistor and all that stuff. So if you picture like when you're sewing from in through one side, coming back out and around the same way, over and around, when that energy flows between those, it comes in and out and around and around and around and around. And then when it hits all the resonators and how it really starts throwing stuff up through the top, which would be where your gold resonators are, giving it the simple version, where you're continuing that flow, or like a circuit, if you will. Like when you turn off the circuit, when you flip your light switch, the circuit's complete. It's keeping going. But to interrupt it, you flip the switch. It's kind of the reverse with this. Once it gets going, they don't stop. So basically everything is sucked in through every one of those little, like, say, archways, if you will, combined with the gold and the copper and so on and so forth. And it just enhances everything, which you have your electrical conductors at the bottom, which would be like your wires that are magnetized up to the next level, then to the next level, and everything's amplified. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Do you agree, Colin?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure I'm not getting in the way of what you were saying. So
no, that's that. So like you definitely, what you just said is the best way to go in depth about what I was getting at. In fact, I think I learned a couple of things there myself in terms of the way, the mechanism, the flow of the energy and exactly how it interacts. But yeah, I thought I had a pretty good idea.
Think about it in a vertical sense versus horizontal, how we normally accept our energy. All of our energy, light poles and whatnot, and all that usually goes horizontal for so long before it goes just a little bit vertical. And this particular place there in Bulgaria, or Sofia, Bulgaria, to turn that one on would be so simple, but they won't allow it.
Okay.
All these old places like that, they're so easy to turn on. And it's so right there in your face and nobody gets it. And people walk by the on and off switch all day long.
Wow.
So there's also
intriguing.
There's some homes in Moscow that have some kind of electrical system built in that heat the homes using free energy. Yes. And these homes are dated back prior to 1820.
Yeah, you're talking like the old fireplaces. The one that looked like a really ornate fireplace that should be in a big old palace, but those were like aether furnaces or whatever they call them.
Yeah.
Where all this energy would go up and out and spread, and everybody had that one particular, we'll say like a grounding rod of sorts, you know what I mean? Where each home would grab onto it and it would warm their home through that. That's about the simplest way I could explain it.
So Mike or Colin, yes, how do you think they were able to stop people? I mean, if the information on how that technology worked, why would people obviously not? I mean, why would they stop putting this free energy into their homes? With free
money. Nobody's getting paid.
Money.
And it's controlled.
Yeah, where's the meter?
Yeah, how can you control
like
the population?
Tesla said, where's the meter?
For those that got their hand in everything and said, you know what? If we compartmentalize everything, we can control people. And we're the minority, along that concept. That's the easiest way. You find that one big stick you need to hit one person and everybody falls in. And you just walk up and turn the switches off And it's like, you know what, James, if you want to heat your house, you're going to have to pay me. And then suddenly overnight, here's an electrical company, or here's an energy company, or an oil company, or whatever. However, you know, or even the guy that used to cut timber. If you want wood to heat your house, well, you're going to have to pay me.
Okay.
Yep.
Simple version.
So it just sounds like basically the people back then were the ones in charge were a bunch of assholes, pretty much like it is today.
No different than today, yes.
Okay. Well, so how about we go, I've got some information here about the history of Tartaria.
Uh-oh, lost Colin.
Colin, we lost your video, but let me go ahead and I'll just pull up this map.
There he is.
Yeah.
Okay, so it looks like Tartaria.
Guys, give me just a second. I'll be right back.
That's fine. I'm just going to read this. So this is actually from Colin. He helped put this together. So Colin remote viewed Tartaria prior to 1820, but it actually looks like it was 1814 is when Tartaria was destroyed. But going back to about this area was settled about 50,000 to 100,000 years ago. Is everybody able? Oh, it's not showing up.
No.
Yeah, I had the wrong picture. Sorry. There we go. I got like two of these open. So close that. Now can you see them? Okay, there we go. Great. All right. So
real quick question, just
yes.
in case, you know, how do I mute this just in case I have to mute it? Sorry to interrupt you.
The mute button is at the bottom. Do you see where it says mute?
Stop
him? Okay, go ahead.
All right. Just want to make sure.
All right.
That way there's no unnecessary, you know, background sounds.
Okay. So 50,000 to 100,000 years ago. So it looks like this place existed at the same time as Atlantis. I mean, the whole area was settled. So imagine Atlantis is still existing on the surface, but yeah. So the structural geometry that you see, such as we showed, that the religious structures tap into the Earth grid and act as a battery storage container. So now looking to the history of Tartaria, we go back to the year around 50 BC, and it looks like the Alliance. Okay, Tartaria initially included the entire planet. Okay, so this is roughly around the year 50 BC. The Alliance took control of planet Earth, and this was right before when Christ came. So from 50 BC to the year. I thought we had 1270. I have it. Yeah, 1270. Tartaria was at its pinnacle of power. So what we did is what Colin did. It was that he remote viewed Paris in the year 1150. Okay. So what it actually looks like happened is that when the Roman Empire collapsed, we didn't go into a dark age. We actually went into a breakaway where the entire planet became technologically advanced, similar to what was like in Atlantis. So around the year 1150 in Paris, Colin is seeing cathedrals. These cathedrals are built around the year 600 to 1200, and they all had advanced Tartarian technology. So the Middle Ages, what it's the opposite of what we're told. They were actually booming technologically until the year 1270. The Dark Ages is when after 1270 is when the Dark Ages came, and we'll go into that in just a bit. But looking into Paris in the year 1150, we see an extraterrestrial presence. They're Earth humans. A lot of them are living underground, but there are. See here, we actually got a percentage here. 37% of the population are giants. 28% are humanoids like us, and the rest are ET. Aquatic beings. Some of them live underwater. They have a spongy bone that allows them to live deep in the oceans under high pressure. Okay, so now actually looking at Paris, the architecture, what we see is what looks like a staging area for a military campaign around the year 1150. The benevolent ETs, the Alliance, which is in charge of the planet, are preparing to launch some kind of attack against the Orion groups. So looking in Paris, we see pillars that are levitating. They have a pointing side down. There are crystal pylons in the shape of Vogelwands. The cathedrals are basically power plants and connected to wireless energy, similar to Tesla tech. The flying buttresses that are scattered around the city are also used for wireless energy. There's also an energetic defense dome over Paris, looking at the okay. So going to the year 1270, there appears to be some kind of major reset done on planet Earth. The Orions got control over the planet. The Orion group terrorized so many sectors of the galaxies. So the intergalactic federations of world are and the alliance were the positive, so that switched over when the Orion group took power. The Matra, the Sakaar Draco, the Nebo Greys, and the Valkesh, which had the elephant snouts, were the ones involved in this takeover. They used conventional technology. They couldn't sneak high-tech weapons through the high-tech defense of the alliance. Yeah, well, I guess they couldn't. Well, they did somehow. Colin.
Yeah, they did. They utilized the opening when the alliance would send the ships through. They would sneak it. They would try to sneak them in, but what they wound up doing was they wedged somehow this energetic dome open and allowed them to basically flood in.
Okay, so at that point, that's when the Dark Ages happened. So they must have also reset the morphogenic field, because this is not in the history books. I mean, where's the historical record that Europe wasn't a breakaway civilization? Mike, are we hitting the nail on this, or are we totally off? What do you think?
Little maybe. Basically, I hate to admit it, but it's more of a regressed 5D state when everything was taken over. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and based on regressing that, then that puts you correct-ish, give or take, say, 100 years.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
So the date's a little off, the 1270?
Yes, because you also have to take into consideration what calendars were used, what was hidden prior to. You see what I'm getting at?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, and then when you get that part dialed in, but yeah, you guys aren't too terribly far off the mark.
Okay.
Yeah, with the RV stuff,
I have to keep it like that for a reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with the RV stuff, it's hard to know exactly, what date or what decade or even century sometimes where you're at. So, yeah, it makes sense though. It's good to know. Yeah, I was happy to know that you were able to confirm some of that when James told me you guys had talked and the RV session had come up. So
Right.
it was good. It was nice to know that there was some bearing there.
Well,
Would you like to go ahead? Sorry.
Can somebody please explain why the history of this technology of advanced civilization was wiped from our history books? Surely there's drawings from that period.
I hate to say it, but we already covered it. Money, control.
Yeah, it's all control and money. Yeah.
And that's when that one small percentage of, and I'm going to go there, the Dracos and the Alphas and all that decided to, you know what? This is like, look at all this cattle, this free ranging. We need to control this. But we don't need them to know that we're controlling them. So let's do this.
We're actually going to discuss. I'm going to discuss that in just a bit, because that actually came up later on. Because Colin went to North America to look more specifically there at this period. But I do want to mention that in the year 2020, the Alliance took back control of the planet. So we went to a positive.
Officially, yeah, officially.
If you want to go by their official terminology, but
right.
Yes, but it still depends on the calendar that you're running off of.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean? But
there's so many of them.
If I may, did you want to explain to James how I explained it to you about like the disclaimers about the RVing in the past and all that?
Yeah, I did. I actually brought that up with him earlier. If you would like to explain to him more in greater detail, because I had brought it up, but I didn't remember everything you had said. I remembered some of the main points.
Well, I mean, I know it's James's show, but I got to do it this way. For those that are listening, could you share with everyone what you remember, and then I'll go from there. If that's okay.
Yeah. So obviously, the most important point was the potential of a timeline fracture. When you go back, when you remote view in the past, especially far into the past, you run that risk. There's also areas that you shouldn't go based upon what beings may know that you're there and what they could do to you. So
Mhm.
that was what I took
Right.
from that, Mike.
Okay.
So I mean, if
No,
you want to
you're
go
fine.
into
I got
more
you.
detail,
I just
yeah,
wanted everybody to not think that it's like, everything's a fluff. You know what I'm saying? But the thing with RVing, especially in the past, unless you have somebody that's very, very astute and can pull you out, if you go too far back, step one, safety is always paramount. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Because you might encounter something that you don't need to know, you know what I mean, just based on your timeline alone. And you encounter something just by that in and unto itself will fracture your timeline. And yes, there'll be a lot of people that will disagree with that. Okay. However, the other parts to that is unless you're properly grounded, and like I was sharing with you the other night, when you allow yourself to go into it with a very positive vibration, and a lot of RVers, they don't, in my opinion, I'll say it that way, don't fully grasp the magnitude of the importance. Yeah, and I'm being using a double negative, so to speak, of how important it you have to stay grounded in a positive manner so you can piggyback off that as a grounding rod.
right,
So that way, if you get in trouble, you can just like zip and right back out you come.
yeah,
And the importance is we already know everything has regressed. Okay. So as we uncover, where do you make the decision how far to go back when everything is right there in front of us?
right.
It's pretty
It's
much the
true.
gist of what I explained to you. Would you concur?
I agree. Yeah. And that was, when we were doing our little session where you were kind of showing me some things, we established that grounding rod right away. I mean, I usually ground myself, or make it a point to, but in that particular way, it actually it felt like it held more weight. So
Right. And it's safer.
yeah, right,
You
exactly,
know what I
yeah.
mean? Because
I
safety
have,
is paramount.
I also have techniques to work around all that. So, are we ready to move on? Good.
Yes,
Sure.
I'm not Art Bell, just saying that for the record, for those that are saying.
Okay.
And
So the
no, I
reason
am not Michael Jaco either for the other folks that like to say that too.
did you ever
I'm
work with Michael
sorry, I had to
Jaco?
do that. Go ahead.
Did you ever work with Michael Jaco?
Nick, what? What'd you say?
Did you ever work with him?
You're breaking up.
Okay. Well, in that case, we
I
can move on.
get it.
So, I pulled up this Wikipedia article and I'm going through it, and I can't. All the artwork is showing from what the early Middle Ages looked like from 1450. So there's really no art. Doesn't seem like there's any artwork on here prior to 1270. And but I mean, there are these building structures. I mean, you could see this is what the technology they had to build this back then. So I'm guessing we're assuming that they were
You're
primitive.
basically looking at the inside of a capacitor or
That's right.
a resonator, depending on the shapes and stuff. What was the other eras, Colin? You had Byzantine and all those other architectural
Yeah.
types.
Yeah.
Each
Yeah.
one of those
Byzantine
had a play
architecture.
in that. I forget what they
Right.
were all called. The only one I remember is like the Byzantines. But you had
Yeah. That's
those
a big
other
one.
eras of different architectures that's never been replicated. And for good reason, because they don't want Joe or Jane Q public to understand.
Right.
Because the stuff is really that simple. Churches
Yeah.
were not churches. That's
Yeah.
just
They
what they
really,
turned them into to control folks.
they really subverted everything. I mean,
Correct. Yes.
when you're gonna regress, you have to, in a way, kind of use what you got to work with. And the Orion group did a very good job of that. I hate to say it.
But I have to be myself. But what evidence based on the RVing does it show that the Orion group had a hand in this based on just RV, if I may ask?
Oh well, I mean, based on RV, it's hard to say that it does, but I'm more or less going off of what I know from
Oh, it's just me.
SSP.
Did you guys come across anything in the sessions that may have indicated anything of such? That one right there on the right. No, go back one, James.
Well, what do you want me to do?
No. The other picture, the domed one.
Oh,
That row, right? That one, yes. That is a prime example.
Harmonic it's definitely an amplifier.
Yes. Yeah. Well, amplifier, yes. And then the other smaller one, well, the resonator would be, well, that one not so much. That one's more of a transformer, a magnetic transformer of sorts that you're just now showing. The perfect example would be like a lot of your Russian stuff, or better yet, that bottom left there where you see the sacred geometry. Because when you get into that and you see all the old churches, all of those old symbols like that always had what? Stained glass.
Right.
And when energy is promoted through certain colors of certain lenses, what does that do?
Changes the frequency.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's why certain ones had certain colors for stained glass. And certain areas of Tartaria were now see that one with the train, what looks like a train, but it's not. That one would be a whole different ball game right there. The black and white, the big picture on the right. That one's totally different. That was like shiny ball syndrome. Sorry. I was like, what, squirrel? But everyone was different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's really hard to explain, but at the same time, it's really not. And everything is really so flippin' simple. Okay. Now that right there, old world buildings on the left. Or if you take Vietnam, Laos, Thailand, all the old Buddhist temples, Tibet, Mongolia, well, I think there's even one in Kamchatka, I believe. Then
even Japan too.
Yeah. Everything was styled the way it was for a reason based on different eras.
Right.
Like that one right there. Yeah. That one's perfect. What's that one right there, Colin?
It says it's Italian.
Yeah. That one right there is a transformer.
Mm-hmm. And so
now, the ones with domes meant one thing, ones with squares, one with steeples. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now go up to the Arc de Triomphe right there. Go up one. Those right there. Those would be almost, I guess, if you want to call it like a flux capacitor, so to speak. I'm just making a joke about, Back to the Future, but think about what those do. And
so this opens a portal?
No, but yes, but ish. But no, it's still all energy related. So you go to the one with the colors.
I mean, technically, you could open a portal right there.
If you wanted to, yes.
Yeah.
See all the colors right there where it says Tartarian Airlines, the Facebook picture. Second one to your left. Yeah.
Right there.
See those colors make a huge difference.
Yeah.
And then what that does is create a magnetic vortex of sorts.
Yeah, it's really going to be amazing when all of this is truly declassed and we're able to pursue this technology for what it was built for. It's going to make this world a totally different place.
Well, and then you got to take into consideration too, they said we're just now coming out of the Iron Age and going into the Age of Aquarius. Okay, so that right there by itself, who wants to pull the freaking thread on that and say who's got that book that says what ages we're going into? Who's holding that record so we can find out?
That'd be good.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, in this respect, it still goes with everything else, in my opinion. Follow the freaking money.
Right.
Follow the money trails enough, you're going to find what you're looking for.
Okay.
Mike, can I ask you a question real quick?
Yes, sir.
So they recently discovered, I want to say this is in Tibet. They found a facility there that had thousands of parchments that had never, it wasn't subject to like the hoarders that would try to, find these places and destroy the data. So I'm just curious, Tibet, that's a hot spot. Are you aware of any of the other places where we may find some of that information that's been, kind of cast aside on
Oh,
purpose
I've
in a
been
way.
telling people Petra Jordan for years.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then you can look at all your other religious areas, like your the Carthaginian monks, the ones that live up in the mountainous regions where they got to take the basket and the pulley and the rope. You know what I mean, to get there. The ones that live in the really high
That's
spots.
yeah,
Then you've
that's
got
really
like all
interesting.
your old Jesuits. I mean, a lot of this information is hidden in everything, in every religion, in every nook and cranny. Then you have to study different cultures, their ways of being. See, right. Look at that right there, James.
So
Yeah.
do you think this was built by the Roman Breakaway?
No, hell no. That's Tartarian stuff right there.
So do you think they used some kind of
It's
laser
later
technology?
Tartarian infrastructure, but that's not Roman Breakaway. No, absolutely not.
Did they use some kind of lasers to carve it out of the mountain?
Well, I mean, if it was 5D and everybody was, 10 foot tall or taller, and they had their own tools for that size, so I don't think it would have taken much. You see, like that bottom one right there, Ancient City Carp, second from the left. Up, right there. Nope, you just had it. Come down one, right there. Another side, no, you'll see little outposts and stuff like that on Mars that are very similar.
So was this
like living pods and such?
Was this a portal to another dimension, or to take you to underground?
That'll take you anywhere. Anywhere.
But you have to be at the right vibration to access the portal.
Yes,
right.
No.
It's vibratory. Yeah.
Yes, and you'll know as soon as you walk through the damn door. You'll know which door you're allowed to use or not use. That's just how they work.
Right. Yeah, and actually, some of the spacecraft that has been abandoned here that we've stumbled upon, if you're not of the right vibration, you can't get in.
Yep.
You can't operate that technology if you're not of the right vibration.
The Aliens and Cowboys movie either.
Okay, are you ready for me to move on?
That's on you. It's your show.
Okay. All right.
I'll talk about this stuff all day.
So we just went over 4 different alien groups of the Orion, but it also looks like this other group called the Custodians were involved too in this reset. So looking more into these Custodians, they look like they originated from a group out of Atlantis when we were in the 5th density. And then when the Orion groups came to invaded planet Earth, we dropped to 3rd density. But the Custodians were originally part of this Orion group, and they revolted and were in conflict with the Nebo, Greys, and Draco. They were originally human, but they're infected with AI, and then AI took them over and destroyed their biological components. Because apparently this black goo is not from this universe. So the Custodians are the ones that introduced black goo to the Orion group, which eventually took them over too. But anyway, so it's this Custodians that were seem to be involved in resetting not only the mud floods but also morphogenic field. So does either of you two have any information on this breakaway group from Atlantis that you could share?
Depends on what your actual I know you just went through a little spiel, but what is your actual definition of what these Custodians really are? And I'm not trying to be funny when I say that either.
So what they're supposed to take care of this planet?
Well, I'm trying to find my words. Go ahead. You guys work it out for a second. I'm just trying to find the word I'm looking for. Repeat the question. Let's try it that way.
Well, this book, us here, I forgot the name. Okay, I probably need to know the name of this book. Does anybody
is that flat Earth map?
Sort of.
Yeah, but I mean, they talked about an ice wall, but I don't think that they're not necessarily saying the Earth is flat. I think they're saying it's like a super Earth, and there are multiple little sections on the super Earth where each one of these little lands exist. But I don't necessarily think this is accurate, but maybe there's
it's not.
No.
Yeah. So what can we? Okay, so planet Earth is apparently it's hollow on the inside, so there is an ice
honeycomb.
wall.
Yeah, on the inside of the Earth, it's like honeycomb.
Yes. It's like it's like a wiffle ball.
Yeah.
But on the top also, see, now that one's closer. If as long as you get rid of the words beyond the ice wall.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? And this is before you even go downstairs.
Mm-hmm.
So these continents exist?
You got to go further back than just this, okay? This one doesn't go back that far. I mean, you got to go into like Pangea, then you got to go into Loreza, and then whatever the one is before that. You got to see how everything was positioned. No, go back. Whoa.
Where?
See, like that one, right? Just go back to the one you were just at. That works. See, you got to put all of that together before anything ever split. Okay, and then before anything split, then let's say you were in the center of the bullseye there, right? That would be the first time of when continents and everything split.
Exactly.
Then they allowed it to spread out and then create the next round and so on.
That's right.
And so on and so forth.
Yeah, people confuse those maps a lot, but the way you described it is the way I understood it to be.
Yeah, I mean, because even look on here, you got Thoth. I mean, come on now. You got Lemuria, which if you're going to go, but where's the orientation of this particular map? You know, because Lemuria would be on the west coast.
Yeah.
Because Atlantis, east coast, Lemuria, west coast. Then you had the splinter groups that chose to go south and north before any of the original shit took off. You know, and then you got to think about how the continents basically looked after the Atlanteans got too big for their britches and basically sank their own fucking homeland. And then who got a hold of the crystal generator? Where was it moved? And so on and so forth.
Yep.
And then it just goes and so on and so forth. Like your POIs is your MOL and your BOL. You know what the BOL and the SOL and GOL, what do those mean? If they're points of interest. No, I'm asking and not trying to be facetious by any stretch, but where's the orientation? Except for, that arrow says up, that's the way it flows. This one flows this way. So if knowing the earth the way we know it, every directional flow is counterintuitive to the way the earth would actually access.
Yeah.
Look at the flow of the arrows.
Right. And then like energetically speaking, the way that the flow of the energy when you get inside the earth, it's going to be opposite in some areas and then go back the other way. It's almost like trade winds or like jet stream.
I mean, like, are we in the middle of a gyroscope?
Well, and that's the thing, because
inside of a gyroscope.
think of it in terms of the jet stream and the Coriolis effect, like when you flush a toilet on the northern hemisphere, it goes clockwise, southern hemisphere counterclockwise. So it's the same deal energetically inside the earth. The deeper you go,
but how do you make a ball?
Relatively speaking, what's that?
I said, sorry to interrupt you, but going with what you're saying, and then it's like, how do you take a ball and make a ball do that?
So there's a ball.
Right. So that's what spin does. When you add spin,
Colin, is there a ball inside of a ball in planet Earth? There's multiple spheres.
No, I'm talking energetically speaking. The way that the flow of the energy. So like inside the Earth, it's honeycomb like. The way that there's a lot of area, a lot of civilization down there, as we know. And I was just saying in terms of just the overall flow of energy, when you relate it to Coriolis effect, northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere, the way that, the jet stream flows. And,
let me see if I can try it once.
Think of a hurricane. Look at a hurricane, the way that there's inside of the eye of the hurricane at the middle, and then the layers on the outside of it. You know what I mean?
Vertical versus horizontal. Some goes vertically, but in, like, say, a northerly direction-ish. And then some go horizontal in a more north-south, whatever you call that, orientation. But then
like longitudinal, latitudinal. Yeah.
Yeah. But then you got to also, when you have it like he's saying with the hurricane, if you have opposing directions, that center hole or the opening will not be there. It'll be displaced and create a whole upheaval of stuff that nobody wants to see.
That would create like multiple storms out of one.
And it would go beyond your geostorms or anything they could ever have you believing. And that's if the magnetic north and south or whatever the actual directions are correct. Because it wouldn't matter if it's a bottom spin, like he's saying when you're playing pool, top spin versus low spin,
Right.
depending on how the English you put on the ball.
Right.
But it doesn't make no sense to have this one going left to right, that one going right to left, this one going left to right. It's no, I don't think it
Yeah,
would
the
work
way
that
that, right, that map that didn't resonate with me, that
No, not
particular
at all.
one.
And based on the knowledge I have, it's 100% based on those directions, flat wrong. But when you take the human or the Terran philosophy of it based on resonation, your resonance and your vibrations, then that's totally different. Then you're combining
Exactly.
vertical and a
Exactly.
vertical but yet horizontal. It's like if you're jumping up and down on a pogo stick and you're stuck in the middle of a wave of magnetism. No matter which way
Yeah.
you go, it's going to follow you. So when you have a collective mindset based on a vibration, then that makes a bigger deal.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. See no, go back up, please. Go up to the right there, the brown one with the big hole, the bar, the globe, that one. Because what you're going to have when everything goes in multiple directions, that hole is going to become big in the top, somewhere in the middle, somewhere in the bottom, and it's going to just sling pieces of the planet all over the place.
Right. Yep.
If the directions are not properly oriented.
Yep. That's right.
Okay, but can we confirm that the Earth is actually hollow, and it has like a hole where you can go inside of it, like we see in these maps?
There's many places like that you could
Yeah.
do, and you don't even have to really say it's hollow. It's just the whole
There's
entirety of it. It just depends on how
right.
far down you go.
Yeah.
But is this what it will look like from orbit if they didn't edit all the photos?
If you've seen it from orbit, one, you're not going to see all those colors. You're going to see everything in a brown mocha color. Like a light cream or light brown. You're not going to see all those vibrant colors when you get out there because vacuum is space, or space is vacuumed. Vacuum
Right.
doesn't have color. Our eyes aren't set to be able to see that. That's just somebody's saying, hey, you know what? We got to give them some color, guys.
Right.
Same with Saturn, Uranus, all that stuff. None of that shit has color until you really get on boots on the ground.
So are you saying pretty much all the satellite photos of planet Earth from orbit are fake?
Yes.
They're doctored. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I want to add this, though. They're doctored, but the shape is correct. And it's maybe a little more egg-like, but in terms of what it is
in there somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. So just to clarify that, because doctor doesn't mean the Earth is flat, guys. Okay.
It's more of a flound shape based on the elongated egg, because like I've told people before, it's like you're living in a pocket, like if you live in a valley and there's a cake dome over it. Well, you come up out of that valley and go into flatter land, you're going to see more land. But then you hit another pocket. There's dips in similar to that. Put a lid on top of that. You come up out of that donut and you're going to see stuff. Then you get to travel a little bit. Next thing you know, you're back down in another little dippity doo.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So,
now,
and that gives the impression of a hollow Earth. Sorry,
so
Colin.
Yeah.
So there's definitely continents on this planet that we don't have access to yet.
That is correct.
Okay. Okay. Well,
several. There is a lot more just on the North American continent alone. If you were to spread everybody out, it's like 5 or 10 acres a piece. That's how much is unused. And all that unused space is controlled. Go ahead, Colin.
I was going to say, like if you go up into a skyscraper, a lot of people, they justify their flat Earth theory. Oh, well, the fact that I can go up this high and see as far as I can without any curvature, that's because the Earth is a lot bigger than we're taught. All right.
And that's why you can still see the horizon.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
It's still curved, It's just a lot bigger than you think.
And so I was noticing the comment that Erica made in the chat. She said the gold domed government buildings. The way I'm understanding it, yes, it's still old-ish Tartarian architecture, same concept, same guys, but certain ones like that were taken over in certain areas. And that's why a lot of your Capitol buildings are all set like that, because everybody was kind of like like the old metaphor, monkey see, monkey do. So, hey, they're building theirs like that. We should build ours like this. But at that point, when they started doing all your state capitals and such like that, everything had already been started to be covered over or covered up or, changing of the history.
Right on.
You kind of with me on that, Colin?
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I do agree. Yeah.
And that's pretty much how that went down. But yes, the gold makes a huge difference. Sorry, James.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're looking at a diameter of 8,000 miles, according to whatever this chart is. So, what do you think? Is planet Earth actually bigger than 8,000 miles diameter?
Fuck yes. Pardon my French.
Yeah. Now, let me say something here. So the measurements that they give you online are in reference to satanic, I guess, quote unquote measurements
Yes.
to align with numbers that they've subverted. Okay.
Correct.
So the true measurement is much different. It's actually much larger. So you don't want to believe those numbers. And actually, a lot of the architecture that's been built in I guess recent antiquity,
yes.
yeah, it's also has measurements that are lining up with subverted numbers. So
just like original algebra, if you understood how original algebra works, you'd be like, "Oh, this is easy." But they cut out pieces of it. Same with string theory, quantum theory, all of this other stuff. There's things that they removed to benefit them.
Yeah.
Okay.
But what I was going to get at is on this distance thing, okay, it's just like on a map. And I've said this before. They took something flat to dispel the fact of the flat earth theory, stick it on a round ball and said, no, guys, it's not flat, it's round. And then everybody took that map for what it was on the globe. But when you look at South America, okay, in and unto itself, by itself, it's larger than Europe combined, just in landmass. Mm-hmm. And on the globe, it makes you think Greenland is this really big freaking island. No, it's not. It's just a little white spot in the ocean. Because nobody reads the legends. Everything that they do is put in front of you so they can do their dirty shit. Because everybody's so complacent and nobody really pays attention.
It's very sick. If you think about it, it's extremely disturbing what they've done, because they've done this in every single subject taught. And you know what they do? They laugh. They think it's hilarious because we're the Goyim, right?
We're going to figure it out,
Right. And now that we're breaking free, finally, those things are going to change, and we're finally going to get to see these things for what they really are.
Okay, Colin, or Mike.
Yes.
So we've already established that the Earth is bigger. Can somebody give me an idea on how much bigger are we looking at here? Maybe a percentage wise?
Your brain can't compute that. To be honest,
I don't have an answer for that. To be honest, I think I was going to say this, Mike, but I wouldn't be able to give it to you in a number.
You would never, even if you had the means and the opportunity, unless you got like a spaceship or something, would you be able to completely go all the way around it in your lifetime? If you can wrap your head around that. And we're talking the entirety of it.
So
Earth is bigger than they want you to believe.
So we live on a super Earth, is what you're saying.
Maybe. Yes. Plus some. I just wanted to watch you get frustrated. I'm sorry, James. I had to.
The Earth is a very hot commodity in our galaxy.
Yes.
It's a focal point for a lot that's going on. I mean, right now, about 1/3 of the galaxy is here. Yeah. So
go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, there's going to be a lot going on here, just in general, but in the next 50 to 100 years, which when we're all 100 years old, we'll be looking like we're 20.
Yeah, I mean, we're the mall of the galaxy. I mean, because look at just the resources that people, you migrate towards rocks, right? Everybody migrates towards freaking crystals. Why do you think that is? Okay.
Yeah.
And like a lot of your crystals that you don't even know are crystals, like I shared with some guys and gals the other day, people don't even realize that tiger's eye, the brown, the red, the blue, that's a quartz crystal. But yet we migrate to that. Okay. One of the largest abundant crystals on this planet is quartz, not counting all the other stuff. There's a reason why everyone wants what we have. And if you control who could possibly be the problem, then you satisfy them to a point, then you can farm the stuff out. Just like helium, for instance, okay? There is a contract that's going on that people are completely oblivious to, okay? We're out of helium, but yet suddenly now we're back into the rocket business, and it takes helium to get rockets to go. So who are they trading with? And what are they trading? You see what I'm saying? But that's about as far as I could put it there. But they trade certain commodities that we have here on this planet to this particular race of people that they're trading for helium. To them, what they're trading, like say a microwave, cell phone, stuff like that, to these folks is considered a novelty, like a hand buzzer or a whoopee cushion would be to us. And that's the only reason why we're back in the helium business. The stuff we take for granted for doing balloons,
So if we live in a super Earth, how do we explain the night and day cycles?
Because the distance that the sun really is from us.
Yeah, we have more suns and more moons than you think.
Yeah, when you go higher than third density, there's
look at what the newest Space Force
two.
adds there, James. It says, "Don't let your sun set." Blah blah blah. Join, on a bad time. Okay. No, the Space Force has got a new ad out, and it shows two suns.
Yeah, there's two, and when you go higher than third density,
it says, "Don't let your." I forget exactly what it says, but don't let your two suns set on something, and then it's an ad for Space Force.
Yeah, I've seen quite a few images, recent ones that people have taken showing both of them, and the reason for that, guys, when you're moving into fourth density, you're in a completely different area in terms of energy. So if there's a sun that exists in a higher vibratory section of the entire range of energy that is visible, you're going to start seeing it, and that's what we're seeing that second sun.
Well, let me ask it like this. Okay, like say, and one of the comments in the thing says the sun would be farther away if the Earth is bigger. So going with that, my daughter had a thought. The eyeball of the average humanoid, meaning us, Homo sapien, can only see up to 3 miles with their eyes. So how do we see the sun?
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know what I'm saying? And then you got to take about refraction and all this and on the lens and all this. There's everything we know has been colored over, excuse me, or hidden, or they take just a vital piece here and a vital piece there.
Colin, why don't you mention about Vulcan?
Oh, yeah. The planet Vulcan that exists like within the sun's corona.
Yeah, one of the Earth's sister planets. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was just telling James about that today. What's that?
What about the other three that go with it? Somebody didn't just wake up one day and said, "Oh, yeah, planet Vulcan." Even if
I know exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Even if you go into the Gene Roddenberry thing, someone didn't just wake up and know about the planet Vulcan.
Okay, Mike.
Right.
How many suns are there in this solar system, and how many planets are there? Do you have that information?
I can tell you there's at least 2 suns and 3 moons. The rest I can't.
Okay. Well,
that's why I know it to be as well, James.
And I will say this much, James. If a person, I will rephrase, excuse me. When people dig deep enough, it is okay. When they hide stuff in what they call the public space, if you will. Okay, it could be anything. as long as they post it publicly or present it publicly, whether it's mangas, comic books, movies, fandoms, wikis, whatever, as long as it's posted, they don't have to really share what they're doing, right? So that would be the same way when you're looking for something. You have to look, as long as it's even published in one obscure journal, it was published. So someone could see it.
Yeah.
And that's how the rules play out. Yeah.
That's right. Yep.
All right.
Can I just address a comment real quick? So,
Sure.
the NASA brown dwarf, yeah, that is one of them, but there's another sun that is just coming into view because of where our vibrations are as a species and some of us individually. We're high up enough into lower fourth density that we can see that third sun, which is not a brown dwarf. It's actually very similar to the current sun we have.
Let me see if I can find this
So I just
picture
wanted
real
to
quick,
address that. Yep.
because I just took a picture just the other day that showed both suns. Okay. And I'm just going to have to look for it real quick.
Yes, Sirius is a lot closer, just to confirm what I saw there. It's much
There are
closer.
several planets that are closer to the Earth than what people think.
And
several
star systems, too.
Absolutely. So when I tell everybody that the stuff that I do is in actual real time, I'm not joking. It's literally in real time.
Mike, you said that you were a liaison for
the commander of the Council of Venus. Yes.
Yeah. So Venus is supposedly like 900 degrees. So how is that equating?
That's just what
Not
they
in
want.
fourth density.
It depends on your density, like he's saying. But at the same time, you also got to look at it like this. That, how was I going to say this? Dang it. I'm trying to multitask. You go to the United States Geological Survey, right? They have maps of every freaking planet that they want you to know about. So if it's supposedly so hot, then why do they have all those maps and everything's laid out? I'll put it that way. But it's nowhere close what they think. And when you have the right gear, it's easy peasy. And most of it's just the upper atmosphere part. So that's no big deal.
Yeah.
It's really that simple. It's like, going from, say, Maryland to Washington. It's really that simple in real time, but you're just traveling different. Because, see, when they say space is defined by distance, not the space that people are thinking about. And that's where people get things convoluted. Excuse me. I'm trying to find this picture for you. Oh, here's the one. Copy. Here's the one of the Space Force thing. Can I put this in the chat for you? Will it let me?
Yeah, you can also, if you want to share screen, you got to press present and then press share screen.
Well, I'm not going to share my screen.
Okay.
Let's see here. I have you on the Telegram, right? There you are.
Okay, I'll try.
I got it. Hang on.
All right.
There's that one.
All right.
What is this that you're showing us, Mike?
The one about the two suns. The Space Force ad.
Yeah.
Because a buddy of mine works for the Skunk Works. He sent that to me and said, look what they're getting ready to put out.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm happy to hear that there's some truth that's going to, there's going to be a lot of truth coming soon.
Exactly. And if anybody understands what, the Skunk Works does, hello, you know what I mean?
Right.
I'm trying to find the picture. I'm in that cluster at the moment.
Any good technology is just locked up in black programs. It sucks. And the fact that I have these memories, just like, anybody in the SSP, and I can see some of this stuff RVing. I want to be able to do it, in this physical reality,
And this one was just taken just a few days ago.
Yeah.
At like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, just so you know.
It's amazing.
Yeah, but maybe it could be a lens flare.
No, No, no,
No,
no.
the lens flare is by his wrist.
So when they rise, that's the exact distance that it's not like one's way further east or west. They come together like that.
Yep. Now
That's
the
two
moons are a little
suns.
bit more separate, but
Do you
Yeah,
think
the
this
moons are.
and
is
one
this an
usually
actual
sets lower.
picture? Do you think this is
Yeah.
actual picture of these?
It's one that they're
100%
getting
that
ready
is.
to release, is
Now,
what I told you.
think of it this way. A lot of people are going to think that that's not real, but that is
Correct.
real.
But that's from a friend of mine that works in the Skunk Works. And if anybody knows what the Skunk Works does, then that'll make sense. Now, I
Right.
just sent you another picture on the Telegram too, James. The one with the two suns that was just taken just a few days ago.
Hey, Mike, do me a favor. Shoot that over to me as well.
Do I have your Telegram? Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Okay, hang on. Forward. Do I? Yeah, that guy. I mean, the discernment's on the individuals, but the Skunk Works,
Right.
to answer the question, is they're like secret R&D for the military.
Yep.
And they work hand in hand with DARPA and all that stuff.
So what are we looking at here? Looks like a sundog.
No, that's two suns.
Oh, you mean
3
that
o'clock
little
in the
green thing
afternoon,
on the
one.
bottom?
Yeah.
No,
that's
on the
other
bottom,
sun.
that's a.
Oh,
on
wrong
the bottom
picture. Sorry,
left?
that was the sorry. That was the Antares portal that's opening right there. Sorry, I gave you the wrong picture. Let me go back. Hang on.
Yeah, that particular green down there, a lot of people may think that's a flare, but that particular green is different than what the light flare off the lens would be. Just a heads up there, because I mean, and that's actually larger than the flare would be off the lens.
Okay, it's not letting me copy and paste it. I'll have to try to do it after this, and I'll have
Wait,
to
I
email
think
it
I
to you.
see what you mean there. Actually, I see another sun just underneath of that one.
That's what I was
They're
talking
almost.
about. Yes.
Yeah, they're almost coming up together, like one layered on top of the other, but you can see the bottom of the other one just poking out a little.
That is correct.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify.
I mean, I'll have to find a better one, but right now, Telegram's acting all wonky. So
No, that's okay. If you can send it later, that's cool. But yeah, that's cool to see. You have to kind of look at
'cause
that
think
one
about it,
for.
'cause when you're aimed at the sun, when you're taking the photo, and you get that down to the left, that's not going to be off your camera because that was done with a
The
flip.
bottom left.
Yeah, in that area too. That green dot.
Yeah,
you're not going to get
that's
that off a flip phone.
right. That's a different green too,
Correct.
than what you're going to get with a flare.
Now the other one,
yeah, that's
some people,
lime
if you're
green.
able, but like in that Antares portal, like you're saying, that green is a different anomaly, but you can see in that starburst as that showing the Antares portal where it's just like one is just barely lower than the other one. So if you follow that white glare off the upper right, that tiny little piece up there, you can see them separating.
Yeah, that's right. I see that, and you can also tell by the by how bright one of them is, because one of them is more. It's much more white looking than the other one, which is orangish
Here's
kind
a
of
better
white.
version of it. Hey, hang on. Here's a better version for you guys. Let's see. To you. And then forward to, where'd you go? Come here, James. There you go. That one's much clearer, better version.
Yeah, absolutely. That is definitely two suns right there.
Thank you, Brad. So that's why I have friends that look out for me if I'm doing silly shit. They're like, hey, don't you remember you told me to hang on to this?
Is that Brad from that group, Telegram group?
Yes.
The one that was messing, that was playing with my picture?
Yeah, the one that does the clouds, galactic nephrology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, wasn't that
it, so.
that was cool, wasn't it? That picture I sent.
Oh, that was absolutely wonderful.
Well, let's go ahead and move on because we got more stuff to talk about. So,
Right on.
okay, so I want to let's go back to Tartaria again, and let's focusing on North America. Colin, we went to look in Chicago. So it looks like pretty much everything after 1270 was pretty much just Native Americans and giants and adobe structures. But prior to 1270, there was actual advanced technology, advanced cities like Chicago. So we went back to looking about 10 Chicago. The area around Chicago was always populated for tens of thousands of years. There was always destruction, and then it was rebuilt. The Tartarian Chicago was founded around 300 BC. During this period, Chicago, the architecture was the amazing Tartarian style that we see. Some pictures earlier, but they also had the crystal buttresses where you see the pylons throughout the terrain. The original name of this city was something called. So this is probably not going to be very accurate, but
Hold on, let me see if I remember. In Shamshade or something.
In Shang, okay, in Shang Yuje.
Yeah, that was so that was just a rough kind of guess as to how that was pronounced, but yeah, I don't know. It could be.
So most of the population in that city lived underground, although at that point in time there were some structures above ground, but you have to go about 20 to 30 kilometers down. On the surface, there was a construction yard where they were building starships near the lake. There was also an energetic defense dome, which was protecting the city from the Orion group. There was
any negative ET, but yeah, I mean the Orion group is certainly one of them. Yeah.
Okay, with a section that allowed ships, so the ships would come through this energetic dome, and that's how the Orions actually got in through that hole where the ships were coming. So again, that city that was destroyed around 1270. So once the dome was turned off, the ships teleported in all the bad ones, and they did their invasion. So
yeah, they use the sorry, just to interrupt. They use the Velkesh for stuff like that, and then they'll beat you by attrition, because they don't value life. So, you know what I mean?
And the Velkesh are like that. They have this elephant tusk.
Yeah, they have. Yeah, it's kind of like an elephant tusk. Yeah, I guess.
Okay. So Mike, have you ever encountered the Velkesh?
Well, are you talking about like the sapient beings, Velkesh? That one type thing, or what? What's your definition of it?
Yeah, this particular Velkesh, it does look a lot like an elephant kind of. It's got like a darker gray skin to black and they have like elephant tusks. It's not a real long one, but it's down like that. And they're regressive, very regressive. They have a hive mentality. The women are the leaders, and the men do all the fighting. It's a lot like the Siakar Dracos. But yeah, that's more or less what they're, to give them like an explanation or description.
I can't really say I've actually encountered anything as such. I've heard of.
It's probably just as well.
I can't really speak of, or speak on, I should say.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. On one more paragraph here about Chicago. So after this period, after around 1300, the city was left in ruins. The natives were so there was a group of giants that were roughly about 30 foot tall, some of them up to 30 foot tall. And then there were the natives that looked like us, our height. And the giants were hunting the natives for food and adrenochrome. The natives were living in prisons living in a prison. Okay. Basically, North America is a giant prison or hunting ground, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it was for a while.
Yeah. So we looked Chicago basically wasn't built up until around 1837, and then it was basically being run by criminals up to this day. The Chicago fire didn't start from a cow knocking over a lantern. It was done on purpose by, apparently, you said, the Native Americans. I guess they were upset.
Oh,
Many,
Betty's cow. You talking about the Chicago fire?
yeah.
Yeah, from what I understand, that was not an accident. So,
Okay. Okay. So that's I have some information on San Francisco, but I'm going to pause here. Mike, would you want to comment about anything that I just said before we move on?
No, you're good at the moment because right now, I mean, giants and stuff, I don't really get into with folks.
Okay. Okay. So we've got San
That one I really
Francisco.
can't at the moment.
Yeah. So there's a picture online of San Francisco in the 1870s, and it doesn't look like there's a lot of people there. So
Before or after the, okay, so obviously before, got it.
yeah. So that particular image, the reason why is because basically California went through a financial crash once people realized the gold rush wasn't as profitable as they thought. A lot of people left, but so there really isn't a conspiracy there. But it looks like going back prior to the gold rush, going back to 1820, remote viewing San Francisco, what we actually see are adobe-like structures made from wood and mud and wood. And these structures were up to about 4 stories tall, and some of them were designed for giants up to 30-foot tall. So you can imagine how big these adobe structures were. It looks like the U.S. cavalry military tore down a lot of these structures, and any kind of historical records is in the Smithsonian basement, locked down.
No.
No.
That's where they want you to think it is, but they're in other locations as well.
Okay.
Just like they want you to think that the gold is in Fort Knox, but it's not there. Not like they think.
Okay.
That's true. It's not.
It's put in 3 to 5 different locations, depending on who you're listening to. No less than 3.
Okay.
That much I do know.
Right. Agreed.
Okay. So going to 1905, the fire that burned down the city after the earthquake, I think it was maybe it was 1906. I don't think sure. But apparently that was fate. There was no conspiracy there. There's a lot of wooden structures.
Can I bring a point up real quick? You notice a common theme of fires burning places down in the 1800s there?
What do you think?
Well, it's for a reason. Those fires weren't accidents, and they were covering up a lot more than you think. So
what do you think was in that city before 1905 or the Great Earthquake?
Whether it's what's in there or what's not or what's underneath of it isn't necessarily the point. It's more what do they want you to believe? You see what I'm saying? What can they hide by a look here, not there kind of thing? So,
well, what do you think, Mike? What were they trying to hide in ancient San Francisco?
Define they. I was feeding my scorpion. Sorry.
Maybe it would be the custodians. Usually, they're the ones responsible for all these resets.
Well, think about what San Francisco is, and geographically speaking, it's not what's on top.
Well, there's down in the ocean. There's a Tartarian colony, which even goes all the way over to Telos.
Yeah, there's also waterways that go in as far as almost the Mississippi River.
Correct. Well done, Colin.
And Mike, have you been in any of these facilities under California?
Oh, absolutely.
And do they look like cities under there, or are they ancient?
Does what look like cities?
Are there ancient looking cities underground, like been there for the tens of thousands of years?
I cannot confirm nor deny without permission of the secretary.
There it is. I was waiting for it.
Okay.
I was waiting for it.
Well, have you ever had any interactions with these giants?
I can neither confirm nor deny without permission of the secretary.
That's a sensitive topic there, James.
Indeed.
Well, supposedly these giants hunted the Native Americans. So are they safe? Do they still eat humans? Are they cannibals?
Like I said, I can neither confirm nor deny without permission of the
I should let
secretary.
that secret stay buried.
However, if you're going to go by what's publicly mentioned, one could presume. But you're talking about the ones that are of red hair and so on, and about 8-9 foot tall, according to the stories and so on.
Okay. All right. So
Yeah, the ones that people think are the Anunnaki, but they're not.
Correct. Well
Yeah.
done, Colin.
are
Wait,
they
he's got more.
are they pre-Adamites or Nephilim?
Hold up. What? Okay. I got to do this. I'm sorry. What is your definition, excuse me, James, of a Nephilim? In
Well,
all honesty.
they're I mean, they're in the during the time of before the flood. What they call
No, just what are they?
They're a breakaway group of humans, roughly about 8 to 9
Negative.
foot tall.
They're any group of.
Is the byproduct
Sorry, go ahead.
of one of the, I'm sorry, Colin. A Nephilim is the byproduct of one of the ETs that came down and started swooping up females and say, "Hey, she's hot. I'm going to breed with you." Okay, their byproduct, a Nephilim, would be in mythology speak would be like a demigod. Hence, how your Roman and Greek mythologies and all that were what inspired them, if you will. And that's why a lot of your cultures will wear like burqas or bonnets and all this other stuff. And it was always the fair-haired ones that were swooped up. That's what a Nephilim is. Although, height, girth, and all that other stuff, that's a whole nother conversation. But they were basically demigods. That's how you got Zeus and Hermes and this. Well, not really Hermes or, Zeus or I mean, maybe Zeus, but
Yeah, Zeus,
Hermes
Thor.
and Hermes and all them. They were a next step down byproduct.
Okay.
Nephilim was basically one of the humanoids here on the planet that was bred by one of the ETs from up above. Their byproduct, meaning their children, were classified as Nephilims.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Crickets.
did they were they known to be violent? Did they end up getting wiped out?
Oh, you're talking about that definition of the Nephilims? No.
Yeah.
They used to actually, according to most stories, got along fine, and it was simple. Everything was honor bound. If you broke your word, they're going to mess your ass up. Or, then you got the ones that got greedy and tried to steal from them, and they're like, we can't have this. And then you got that one person, when he goes into your religious side of things with David and Goliath, that particular group in question, all it took was one or two people to get in their ear. They're like, hey, we want you to do this for us and go squish all these little guys. And that's kind of how all that stuff, spun out of control-ish.
Yeah. Okay. So I know like the book of Enoch mentions the Nephilim as a mysterious group of people, but maybe they're considered fallen angels
from heaven to earth who came. That's the direct translation. Those from heaven, or those that came from heaven to earth, basically.
And there was 13 of them that came with Lucifer, just like the thing with Jesus. And a lot of people don't know this, but when you do your theological research, you'll come across that, which 13 becomes a predominant number, because then you got the 13 tribes, you've got this, and everything is a 13. But now those
like the calendar.
Down, yes. And those that came down bred with those that were pretty, their byproduct hence still became Nephilims. Which, if anyone is astute in their researching skills, can find that.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of this hidden disclosure in that reference, you can find in a lot of religious text, more than you would think.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, so let's move on to the Grand Canyon, because apparently there were some caves there where they located some Egyptian type artifacts. So looking into that, we see that there were many different types of groups of ETs. They would come and land, give technology and devices to the natives. But there were also some humanoids were living in these structures, but those caves were usually low tech. Some of these ET were also living there, and their technology even is more than what we have today. But yeah, there were a lot of these. Okay, so these particular caves, it also looks like Mark Antony and Cleopatra left their home and took a boat here along with some advanced technology. They had levitation technology, weapons, and a means of making food from nothing. And then their descendants settled in that area along with the Native American tribes, who are now being hunted today by secret societies who want to take their blood and make clones because they have special abilities. So does anybody else have any information about these caves in the Grand Canyon they would like to share?
All I know about are the ant people. That's it. So, Mike, if you want to take this one.
Okay. There's so many schools of thought on this thing about the Grand Canyon. Okay, common sense, if you're going to do that with a spruce a little logic in there, it's an old mining facility for those that were of a larger scale. Okay, whether it was ETs or not. You know, a certain breed of ETs did reside down there once upon a time. Shared technology and stuff. Then you got to go with old folklore and all this other stuff. But basically, the Grand Canyon's an old mining fucking operation. It's a simple version. And as far as the glyphs and all that stuff, that was way during the times of when they were mining everything out.
So probably during ancient Egypt, there was already a mining colony here still active, and the two regions were in communication with each other. I mean, they would have had intergalactic craft going back and forth around the planet.
Back then, before everything split, they wouldn't even needed that.
Yeah.
There would only been like maybe a month's ride based on how everything's still together.
So that would mean the Roman breakaway. I mean, the Roman civilization would have also had advanced technology.
Maybe-ish. What were you saying, Colin?
I was just going to say, like, if you can even look in some of those temples, like the Temple of Abydos in Egypt, if you look at one of the walls, it shows glyphs of actual craft, like one that looks like a helicopter, one that looks like a saucer. You know, there's some other ones too. Yeah, you could look it up there, like type in, it's Abdys, I believe is how it's spelled.
I'm going to explain something to you here in just a moment.
Yeah, right there.
I got to go to the restroom. I'll be right back.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I mean, look at that right there. That goes to show you something. I'm sure there's many more examples of that they didn't want to have get out.
At this time, do you think this technology existed, or were they just like?
Yes.
Yeah.
I changed my
mind.
Maybe they're using portal technology or magic mushrooms.
Negative. Nope. And I'll tell you why. Because the cardinal directions, as you know it, are completely false. North is south, and west is east. Okay.
That's right.
That being said, North American continent is actually the old, or what would have been the original China, the Middle East, Egypt, and so on. So if you're finding glyphs of that nature and so on, that means they didn't have to go very freaking far.
Yeah.
And that's actual proven. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of people don't understand that. Just like when they try to explain to you that the easiest way to explain north is just by pointing up, when it's quite the opposite direction.
Yeah, everything's inverted. I mean, people may not grasp this until they understand Satanism. You know, the fact that the reason for the flip is because they invert everything.
Indeed. And I mean, it sounds totally ludicrous, but one of the other ideas I like to throw at people too, we're actually all hanging upside down, believe it or not, because common sense and logic cannot dictate to me, and this is just me now, but you go to space camp in Mobile, Alabama for NASA, and you can comfortably tell me that James and Colin, you guys can go in this room and experience weightlessness, meaning zero gravity, even though over years they've had to change the names to fit the scenario, and flip a switch, and you guys are completely weightless. Okay, so if you got a switch for a room like that, where's the big switch for this planet?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, and
Yeah.
then that's why everything is so convoluted. Because
Yeah.
everything we know is literally upside down, hence the terms from the dark to the light.
Yeah,
Once
exactly.
we're stood upright, we're going to be able to see it.
Okay, so let's go back to Tartaria here. So we went back to the early history. So around the year 1300, we know there was a reset, but it does appear that this area of Tartaria still remained. However, it looked like everything turned negative even there. Negative alien groups took over the civilization. And for example, the Great Wall of China was built. It looks like it was built to keep the Chinese from escaping.
That's
So
right. That's exactly what it was for.
yeah, it's like it's totally opposite,
It's
right?
all inverted, man. It's all
'Cause
inverted. Yeah.
they turn their own people into slaves because they're negative. So okay, let me go on here. I'll just go ahead and just go
I
on.
have a
It
question
was
on that
used.
respect.
Go
If
ahead.
they were
They
kept in,
did use it though.
yeah.
What's up, Mike?
But if they were kept in like that, why was only the northern part of northern Tartaria, according to the current cardinal directions, northern facing? They only had the one entrance that you could only get to it from the north. Just
Well,
saying.
that was the Russian area, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I think. Well, in terms of overall Tartaria, I think you're looking at that side, or it's what the way that I look at it is the entire Earth was Tartaria, and
Right.
during a certain time period. But
Let
when
me
things shifted a little bit, and the central point of focus of Tartaria became the east,
I'll
maybe
bring it
that's
down to
why
you
we
like
see
this.
Russia. The borders of Russia were maybe defined then, perhaps. What were you
Well,
going
the
to say,
reason
though?
why they had the northern facing portion like that, what we know as north now, was to kettle those from the outer lying areas so they could lock it down so nobody would know about it. Going back to the bullseye pattern of
So,
what we were talking about with the
so
maps.
the
So
people
that
of
they
Okay.
were
Tartaria,
basically kettling people. The wall was built so they could put the barriers up so nobody would realize how big the earth really is at that particular
Yeah, that
moment.
makes sense. Yeah.
Sorry, James. I didn't mean to overtalk you. Go ahead, buddy.
well, I get you answer I guess my question was, so they put the barrier up to keep people from the uncivilized area of China. I guess you say uncivilized, primitive China, from knowing how advanced it was up in the north.
Yeah, but see, you also got to remember too, on the one side, and even though there's that one movie with what's his name, Matt Damon, where him and his buddy were fighting with the Chinese army and stuff, and he became some general or whatever, where they introduced black powder and all this, but they were fighting all these like demons and dragon type things. All that's real. When you go into their history, it's in all their literature. There was
Yeah.
actual fights with like demonic Draco looking things, which was a portion of why, the boundaries were created. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of all that. You got a sprinkle of this, a spritz of that, but it all comes together.
Okay, so let's go back to Tartaria again. So we're at
Hey, James, just a heads up for you. I got about 10 minutes.
okay. We've got about we went to about looking around the year 1800 at their capital city. I'm going to describe what's being seen here. The area was very technologically advanced. They had pyramids and a sphinx there. This structure, this civilization has been here for almost 50,000 years. It looks like this pyramid and sphinx is now at the bottom of the ocean. Negative aliens stuck it there when the mud floods happened. But they had instruments to do anything. They could lift giant objects. They could turn objects into gold. They could turn specks into food. They could make water out of thin air. They could regrow an arm if it's gone. These occupants looked Egyptian, so they're probably some breakaway from Atlantis. There's it's probably the same thing as Egyptians as well. They're a mixture of standard humans and giants, roughly 5 foot to 8 foot tall, brown and white skin. Their eyes look regular to round olive color. So this whole culture turned evil near the end, around 1800. They had
What, the
advanced.
Tartarian culture turned evil?
That's what information I'm getting.
No.
I think it was evil
They
before
were forced
that.
out. No, they were forced out because the Tartarians, they existed with regular sized Joes like us for the longest time. Government never got involved unless there was an issue. But that's where you also got to look at where did the big and tall shops come from? You know, that kind of stuff. And most big and tall shops, if they're still old city brick and mortars, are still your walk in, go to the right section, and, you know, portals to different parts like that. But most of that was designed to force them to different areas and say, look, here's our treaty. You stay gone. You guys go here. We're going to do this because we don't want a war. So you guys just skedaddle now. And that's pretty much how that went down.
Okay.
Without going into too many specifics.
Well, okay. So looks like a group of aliens wanted to wipe the civilization out around 1814. We see spaceships evaporating people instantly with some kind of orange color light beam. These same aliens. Okay. I think these are the custodians. Cigar-shaped craft. They also turned on rain machines all around the planet and created these mud floods. So huge mud slides just covered everything up.
And that's how they created Egypt.
What?
That's how they created all the sand and stuff, you know, in all these deserts. Because what I was getting at with Egypt and stuff actually being over on our continent, think about it. Why is there the same city names here as there is across the pond?
That's right. That's true. And we have the Mississippi Delta. It was just like the Nile Delta.
Correct.
And all those cities are up along the Mississippi River that we're talking about. So
and everything
it's just like up and down the Nile.
Yeah, and we have over 2,000 pyramids just on the North American continent that they won't let nobody research.
As above, so below.
Correct. Thank you, sir.
Yep. Yeah, that's part of their hermetic. Those hermetic principles. You know, obviously you can see that just through them right there, and it's quite interesting. People have to think of, you know, another notch to quite grasp a lot of this stuff. Certainly anybody that's listening to this is on that page, but you know, when we're going to teach this stuff later.
Sorry, Colin. One city here in the States that will give you pure disclosure if you know how to look is Cairo, Illinois.
Yeah.
Almost everything.
I live in Illinois. Yeah.
You know, and I don't really care for that state, but I got a lot of good dear friends there too. But there's a lot there. You know, like Karnak. Right. You know, you got
Memphis, Tennessee.
Why do they do all that shit in Las Vegas? Why are all the casinos named after this, that, and the other? You know?
Yeah, and then you got the Luxor is the pyramid, right? Let's tie all that together too.
And let's say you were to treat the like he said, the Mississippi Delta. Okay, the Mississippi Delta is the largest delta region on the planet. So let's say you take the intersecting rivers, the three rivers that they talk about. Where would that put you if you were using that as a guide point to finding the Garden of Eden? And then knowing that all your cardinal directions are wrong.
Yeah.
That north is south and east is west, and using Pennsylvania as your marker. Think about where the hell that takes you. I mean, it's flabbergasting.
It is.
And it's like, well, we'll use the audacity. It's like, you bastards. You know what I mean? And it's
I'm so happy that they're done.
Yeah. So we've got let's move on here because got more, and I don't know how much longer Colin has, but okay, we'll try to get through as fast as we can. So it looks like there was another reset around 1910. This time it was 1907.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Wow. So
that's when it first started. Yes.
So what was going on the planet at that time? There was a group of humans conducting research in a bad direction. They were developing bombs more powerful than nuclear weapons, and they were also experimenting with genetic changes. So at this point, it looks like the Alliance might have done this. It wiped the memory from the morphogenic field to stop us from developing these weapons, and also the memory of the giants. So, do you have any other information you could share about this?
Well, it's like Tribe Red Eye TV said right there in the chat. Your little ball of yarn thread is the 13 colonies of the Masons. That would be your little piece of yarn to pull and go full on kitten mode.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously.
What about the 13 colonies?
If you dig into it, you'll understand.
Okay.
That's like I was telling you earlier about, talking religion or politics and you're drunk in the bar.
So
that would be a whole separate whole show just by itself.
Roughly around that period, they were conducting the Federal Reserve Act and putting us under that slave grid.
It was actually way before that, latter part of the 19th century, if not almost mid, when all
1871.
Yeah, I was going to say like 69, but yeah, 71 sounds about right. When they started implementing all the paperwork and this and that, you know what I mean?
That's They finally actually made it something of disclosure at 1913, but 1871 was when they began subverting the country. So
that is correct, and that's how they became across with the Washington D.C. concept and the other rest of the trifecta, London City, the Vatican City. And believe it or not, it sounds like we're jumping all over the place, James. But believe it or not, believe it or not, the nexus that's involved it's unsurmountable, believe it or not. I mean, it's audacious. And when you really start doing it and you treat it with an old school mindset, like you're, 1975 in the library and you got every book from the reference section on every table pulled together, and you're trying not to get caught bookmarking and tabbing stuff, then it's going to make sense. Because, that's why they created the internet in a way for easier access, yes, but it's also part of the programming, because when people research this stuff, they have one way only.
Believe it or not, the internet is a white hat technology.
Yep.
They didn't even want
a lot of people don't realize that.
Just like your Tor browser was also. The Tor browser was created by the Navy to deal with the dark hats.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of it, because there was some program called Coffee and some other stuff and, all that other crap I don't care to get into. But, just talking about the 13 Mason colonies is all by itself. And you'd be like, whoa, okay.
All that in a ball of yarn.
And then some, because then you got to look at, why do all the Masons, all their facilities never have it? They have upper windows, but you can't see it out. Why are they built the way they're built?
Yeah, like what does that stuff mean, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, a buddy of mine likes to say all the time about the critical thinking. We've all forgotten what it's like to use critical thinking.
Yeah.
It's about pure vibration, what resonates, and how far you plan on chasing that little string down.
Like you said, Mike, keep it simple, stupid.
Exactly. And sometimes that's really hard to do.
It's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, it is hard to do sometimes, but if you can learn to think that way in terms of some of the technology that we just discussed, it's a no-brainer at the end of the day. Like people make it seem like if you're taking a physics class in college, they may make it seem like technology that of the sort that we were looking at or some of the other stuff would be so much harder to develop, but they want us to believe that as part of our programming, when in all reality, it's the opposite. It's so much easier.
Well, and the easiest way to get your head wrapped around it, y'all, is, okay, they've told us, everyone here has heard this at least once in their life, and if they say they haven't, they're full of it. Okay? When you're awake, you only use 10% of your conscious brain, and when you're asleep and in full REM state, you use 90%. That's not logical, Jim. Hands down, it's not freaking logical.
Agreed.
No how you do it. How can you come? I mean, what, are we all technically in the REM state right now? Is that where we're at? And when we're asleep, that's our conscious state? I mean,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, no. And that's why that's why one side of the aisle calls it wokeness, and they do the switch and put their own meaning to it. When being awake, y'all, is about increasing vibration, your harmony, connecting, getting back to
Right.
the planet the way we need to be, and feeding off of everyone's positive energy, and everything's going to show itself. Sorry, I just
Exactly.
had to go on their rant, James. Sorry. Yeah. But I mean, that's what they don't want. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, you guys you're talking about suppressed technology. So this was the Solomon airship from 1863, and Colin and I we were looking into this more earlier today, but apparently this group was it NIMSA or okay
NIMSA is the secret space faction.
They actually have current stuff very similar to this that people think they see in the sky all the time.
Well,
Okay.
I was telling James earlier that they actually used anti-gravitics on that particular craft,
Yeah.
but they wanted people to think they weren't, so they built a conventional propulsion system, but they didn't use it.
They came to the blimps and all that other stuff, and
It was a ha moment.
Because
Yeah,
this is back when they
scientists were
believed in
just
Tesla
laughing.
technology before they made him think he was batshit crazy. Yes.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's crazy how much they've lied about, or just lied through omission, or
Early
just to
19th
laugh at
century,
us.
they had electric cars. They had like conveyor belt sidewalks on different train platforms. Just the
Well, it was also at
holographic
the World's
technology
Fair,
they
too.
had with photographs. They don't want people to know that. And we're talking
Yeah.
early 19th century. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But yeah,
Well,
they have some really neat upgraded stuff of this right here, based off of what you first said, Colin. And it's a lot of what people think they see upstairs when they see different things. They do run a few of those upstairs in the clouds in an observatory pattern, if you will. But I've never said that.
Well, I want to mention something else about this. The scientists that developed this they have this ego where they think the common people are inferior, and the reason why they made this mock-up where the real one they didn't show is because they got this ego. But the ship, remote viewing this ship, it looks like it's currently located in a basement in a crate, but by government but not the American government. So this craft still exists somewhere on this planet, apparently.
Yes. There's actually 7 of them. But I never said that.
Have you actually seen one?
I can neither confirm or deny without permission of the secretary.
What was it over Area 51? They got these things.
Well, they're working on a lot of your invisibility shit down there. Plus, they've got a Stargate down there that they have a drone the size of a 747 that they're sending through to mark the galaxy and make maps. They've been doing that for every bit of 70 years or better.
What about the time the drone never came back?
Yes, this is true. And they sent other teams out to go fetch it. And the answer they came back with, a lot of people were very unhappy with. But see, the Solomon Andrews airship, though, here's the neat part. You have to go into your Arabic myths and legends and folklores, which this gave rise to the personal conveyances of such called the magic carpet.
That's right. Yeah.
Which is confirmed.
That's
but
real.
You have to go to different places.
It is real.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of the exact science on it, I'm not sure, but it was basically just anti-gravitic, and they put a carpet on it because while they were traveling on it, they wanted to be comfortable.
Because of the particular fibers that they had access to. And when you generate, like in a magnetic resonance, if you will, you put that together and you can connect with it. We'll just keep it as real simple as possible. You can do whatever.
That's right.
That's how they got around.
I was just looking at something like that the other day. I'm glad you brought that up.
There's also the Gorbachev effect.
Yes, and what Inquisitive is saying, yes, that is true. All they need is jet fuel to take off and land. That's it. Everything else is everything else.
Oh wow! So those jets are a lot more profitable than they're letting us believe.
Yes.
Oh hell yeah! It's all money at the end of the day.
Precisely. And just like most of your aircraft, only they say even military aircraft, even like the Antonov, the Russian one,
Oh, that's
can
a
only
big
go
one.
like 50, 60,000 feet. But they have some that go way more than 100, and let's say 140 or so. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But that's a different type of craft.
Right. And
I'm
well,
not going to get
also,
into it about the flying broom, but you got the concept.
hey, real quick, because I got to jump off. I just wanted to ask a quick question. Have you seen those carriers that they have up there too? They're
Oh, yeah, they've been up there for years.
they're like platforms. Yeah.
No, the ones that they're like a combination, like between the one in the Captain America movie or the Iron Man movie or whatever, where they all got together and they were trying to stop whatever. And then like
I
a
don't. I
cross,
don't think I've seen it.
I don't know which freaking Marvel movie it was, but basically where they had like the big fans in the corners, like turbines forcing air down up, but actually they were more of a centrifugal force. They did like what do you call it? Like a hovercraft ish, but based on magnetics. They're
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
similar
Yeah.
to that, but they look like a cross between a battleship and an aircraft carrier.
It's
They've
really cool tech,
yes, they've had shit up that way for years, but they
and
don't
it's
want
up
anybody
so
to know.
high. Yeah. It's up. Well, they're able to cloak a lot of that, but yeah, it's
90%
also up
of it
very
anyway.
high.
Yes. They've had shit up there for at least 30 years that I'm aware of.
Yeah. Guys, we should do this again sometime. Do
Yes.
another
If James will have me back,
discussion.
yes.
Well,
Maybe.
we've got a bunch of information about the Prussian breakaway, and we've also got. And by the way, here's the helicarrier. So apparently this is real.
Like the one, two. Okay, like the second one.
This one here.
Yes. And then
This is from Marvel.
okay, but you take that one, combine it with the ones from Avatar.
Yeah.
The movie Avatar.
Okay.
Like their big ships that they had way up, you know what I'm saying? And you're gonna be almost spot on. But the ones they have look really like, say, okay, picture this one. Okay, wait, stop. Go back down. See that one right there that says Kamakes? Okay, that one right there. Picture those. Okay. But they're not like platforms on the outside, where they're more angled inward.
Because they're not going to need these fans.
You have a few that are, I mean, if you can imagine that, basically they're on the sides, pushing down where you don't have a complete platform like that. Ish. I mean, it's hard to explain unless you see it. But
It almost looks kind of like what came out of that portal above my house.
I would agree.
Yeah, very similar.
Yeah. But I mean, they're not so pronounced. We'll say it that way. Some are smaller, some are bigger, but that's where they launch a lot of what people are seeing nowadays as UFOs and this for when they get ready to do their big fucking, false flag with all, Project Blue Beam BS and all this other crap. But there's a lot that's up there that's very similar. I mean, you got your, you've even got Corvette class, like what would be the equivalent to like a PT boat or something, or the real fast little ships that are very similar to that, but it's all in how they've presented the propulsion system, and it's
Mike,
all based off of magnetics.
Have you actually been on this vehicle, this helicarrier?
That one, no, but have I been on some upstairs? Yes.
Okay.
Without pause.
Okay.
But they don't want Joe Q public to know about it.
So they know now.
But you're going to call me at some point in the future, right, Colin?
Are we going to do a part 2 to this then and go over the rest of the stuff, James?
We still have the Prussian breakaway, the technology from the Lancet facility, which is tall whites and grays are down there, and this goes back to 1850s to 1860s.
Yeah, the stuff we looked at today earlier. Yeah.
We also have some information about John Trump and the time travel division connected to Tesla, who is apparently still alive in Cheyenne Mountain, working on avatar technology. Why are you laughing? Can you are you suggesting this is real? Are we just pulling this information out of
Yeah, you're just guessing, James. You're good. It's okay.
So are we is this correct? Is he still alive?
He's not at Cheyenne Mountain, no.
Okay, well, where is he?
He's in a secure location upstairs.
Okay.
Well,
Well,
Colin kind of knows where I'm going with it.
well, we got some information about that. We also have some more information about John Keely, who was Colin in his past life. And it's kind of interesting that I pulled up. Actually, I just do it real quick, and then John.
Oh, wait. I just figured it out. Okay. Before you do that, please. See
What?
the picture that you barely. Oh, go back, please. That one right there.
This?
Well, no, to the left. One more. That one. See how those. That ain't going to do me no good. Go back to the way it shows the thrusters.
I don't
Picture
know.
those thrusters, okay?
Yeah.
Now, picture those pointing down as well.
How about this?
yeah.
No.
I know what you mean.
There's no justice. Just look at the orange.
Yes.
Picture orange facing down as well.
Yeah, right. Yep.
And then you've got the ones that look very similar to that have the bigger conning towers with the guns and stuff that look almost like a battleship, which are way longer. And you're going to see some of the fleet that's up there.
Awesome.
But that's pretty much how they're doing it. Do they have some that have the aerials like that? Yes. But not a whole lot because they're not very conducive to, a galactic navy, if you will.
So it says John, this is according to Wikipedia, they call him a fraudulent American inventor. And they also in the picture is in this picture over here, they
That's
say
because he was benevolent. That's why he wasn't regressive.
But look what they write. They say non-functional Keely engine. Can you confirm it? Was this actually functional?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, he was referred to as a fraud because he was benevolent and didn't go along with the party line.
He was like Tesla. He'd tell you point blank. It was about, if you look at everything with, what is that, vibration and magnetism, or what was it? Or what was it? In terms of frequency and vibration, he was one of the ones that was on Team Tesla.
That's right. That's what we looked at earlier. Remember, James?
And I can tell you right now where exactly what facility that equipment is in that he's in the picture with. But I won't. No.
Okay.
It's closer to your house.
The secretary's not here.
You next time you come on here. How about that?
No, James. I just gave you a hint and you weren't paying attention.
Sorry. Go ahead.
It's too bad you missed it. You'll have to check the transcript now. Not. It's closer to your house than you think. Your house, meaning Mr. Rink.
Okay.
We'll say your state, meaning your house. It's within the confines of your state.
Yeah, I'm in North Carolina.
Oh, I think I know. Yeah, I'm not going to say just to protect James's location, but I think I know.
But you're going to make sure you call me later, right, Colin?
What's
when
that?
You get time? You're going to call me when you get time, right?
Tomorrow I will.
Yes, when you have time, of course.
Yeah, when I have time. Yeah, definitely. Okay. All right, guys, I gotta go. So it was cool doing this. We'll do it again soon. All right.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, thank you, Colin.
It was fun.
All right, adios, fellas. I agree. We'll do it again. See you guys.
All right, ciao, buddy.
Yeah. Well, since Colin is gone, we're gonna probably go ahead and call it quits here. Since really the second section was really his information. It would be best if he was here.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do a part 2 because we didn't get to the other half of what you were talking about.
Yeah, and the Prussian breakaway is very.
I don't lie to you, James. This was an absolute blast. This was very fun, buddy.
Yeah, you're very welcome, and we're gonna try to get some more information about Trump and the time travel division, connected to the Q. I don't know.
Yeah, because I wanted to get into the White Sands part too that you were mentioning.
Oh yeah, right. Well, that's really short. Okay, I'll tell you what. I'll go ahead and mention that, and then we can call it quits. But
no, it wouldn't be fair to Colin because I'm sure he's got info on that too.
All right. All right. Well, will you remind me next time?
We did it together. We should probably finish it together. I mean, this is your thing, but I don't want to take anything from what he has going.
Well, will you remind me next time in case I forget? So
I absolutely will. Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Well, in that case, thank you all for listening in. Colin's email is in the description. Nav War is not. Mike is not.
I'm not comfortable doing that yet.
Yeah, but you could send me a message and
he can definitely forward it. Yes.
Yeah. As long as it's relevant. Yeah. Okay. So the other thing is I want to mention is be sure to go to my Rumble channel and subscribe over there. The censorship on YouTube is getting horrific. I got a strike on the other channel, and I'm on the backup. So I think we'll probably be fine with this interview here today. But yeah, so also be sure to go to my check out my website, supersoldiertalk.com. There's a link there to my book. You can get a copy. I actually probably should just do this. Stop. Okay, so you can get a copy of my book on my website. It'll take you to my other website, Neological Tech, where my book is there, and also my meditation cubes, which will help you relax, and it's a great tool to help you integrate yourself through meditation. So,
and help me out, guys, because he told me I couldn't get a copy of that book for free unless he got at least 500 people to view this.
What?
I'm just joking. I'm just teasing.
You want to? Sure. I'll send you.
No, I would pay for it when I get one. I'm just teasing you, buddy.
Okay. Well, and thank you, Mike, and also thank you, Colin. If you're going to check this out,
It was a pleasure, James. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you all listeners for joining us, and we'll all see you later. So I'm going to go ahead and Mike, just stay on the line, and we'll call it
right on
here. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Please consider supporting Super Soldier Talk by purchasing your own Neo Meditation device. Your Neo Meditation device will help you reduce stress, integrate trauma, enhance intuition, enhance clairvoyance, and enhance creativity. Get yours now at www.neologicaltech.com.